Part 15. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 142. A very light and pleasant voice came, which made Nai-Chen stunned for a moment. He was busy looking for various acupuncture points, and he completely ignored the most important thing. The person standing in front of him was none other than Chu Qingyu. Nai-Chen couldn't help but press the acupuncture point again with some embarrassment. Soon, he noticed Chu Qingyu's slightly flushed cheeks and slightly curled body. So, this acupuncture point is. Nai-Chen never expected that he could suddenly discover the weakness of the Empress at this accidental opportunity. The disciples on the side were all dumbfounded at this moment. There were at least dozens of disciples who noticed this scene. Moreover, most of them heard the extremely cute sound of. The Empress just whimpered. How is it possible? But I seem to clearly hear the Empress actually whimpering. Could it be that the Empress is also a whimpering monster? Impossible, impossible, that sound definitely cannot come from the Empress' mouth. But I clearly heard it. Dozens of disciples near the holy elephant instantly felt that their outlook on life had collapsed. In their hearts, the Empress Qingyu was such an unattainable existence. Let alone this kind of sound, even seeing the Empress in person at close range was enough to make them feel flattered and extremely rare. If it was said that the soft whimper just now came from the Empress' mouth, I'm afraid no one in the entire Tianyun Palace would believe it. But that sound was extremely real. Could it be? Could it be? At this moment, Nai-Chen suddenly turned around with a subtle smile on his lips. This matter was caused by himself, so he must solve it well. More importantly, how could his wife's cute whimpering sound be heard by others? Brother Nai, what are you going to do? Are you going to kill people for the Empress? I didn't hear anything, I didn't hear anything. Many disciples immediately felt a chill and hurriedly retreated. But how could Nai-Chen let them go? Nothing, just let you sleep for a while. Nai-Chen smiled and took out a mace that was a few points thicker than the tree trunk. Memory disappearance technique. Accompanied by a loud shout, Nai-Chen rushed towards the disciples. Screams rang out one after another, and the disciples wanted to resist, but they had no power to fight back. Bang, bang, bang. One stick after another fell, and soon, everyone's head fell to the ground with a buzzing sound. Dozens of disciples were knocked unconscious without a single survivor. Well, that's more like it. Nai-Chen clapped his hands and put away the mace with great satisfaction. With this primitive and violent memory disappearance technique, it is absolutely impossible for anyone to remember the scene just now. Turning to look at Chu Qingyu, Nai-Chen immediately smiled and promised solemnly. He, don't be angry, my wife, I definitely did that appointment on purpose. I promise. Even if I know that you have this weakness, I will never press this appointment easily in the future. But it was completely different from what he thought. Chu Qingyu pursed her lips lightly, her eyes evaded a little. Actually, it's not necessary. Nai-Chen was stunned for a moment. What do you mean, my wife? Do I have to say it out loud? Chu Qingyu looked at Nai-Chen with resentment, bit her lips lightly, and said in a small voice after a long time. What I mean is that the appointment is not bad. In the future, when you massage my shoulders, you can press it twice more. As she spoke, she gently pointed to the place 3 inches below her shoulder, where Nai-Chen had just pointed, and her expression became even more shy. Wife, you. No problem, leave it to me. This time, Nai-Chen was finally completely convinced. His wife really was honest in her heart. After a long breath, Chu Qingyu finally calmed down. Even she didn't know why, Nai-Chen's seemingly casual finger just now made her feel numb all over, and extremely comfortable. But as a sense of coldness swept over her, Chu Qingyu quickly suppressed that strange feeling. The stability of the state of mind of the great emperor is far beyond the reach of ordinary people. But you said you would go to the conference with me, why did you come here to practice this strange fingering? Chu Qingyu stared at Nai Chen and asked. I'll just practice casually. Since you're anxious, let's go. Nai Chen smiled and blew a whistle. A dragon roar came from the horizon, golden scales shimmered, and Aolan quickly landed in front of the holy elephant. However, she still had a piece of bone in her mouth, and seemed to be savoring it quite comfortably. Humph, the sisters in Tianyun Palace all made delicious food for me, but you, the master, not only don't give me delicious food, but also want to ride me all day long. Aolan snorted in dissatisfaction. System, Golden Scale Carp. Nai Chen has already mastered the method of dealing with rebellious little dragons. As a golden scale carp appeared in his hand, Aolan immediately became extremely obedient. Even anxiously wagging the dragon's tail, he said in a delicate voice. Ride on it quickly, hee hee, just now, big brother, you should be magnanimous and forget the villain's faults, just pretend you didn't hear it. Nai Chen couldn't help but feel a chill on his back. Fortunately, Aolan has now transformed into a dragon. Otherwise, the words and actions just now would be a crime. The dragon soared into the sky. Nai Chen sat in front, while Chu Qingyu sat sideways on the dragon, leaning against Nai Chen's back. What is the empress doing? The eyes of all the disciples and elders of Tianyun Hall were attracted by the air at the same time. Especially Elder Wang, who had seen Nai Chen and Chu Qingyu together many times today, was even more puzzled. Is the empress planning to take Nai Chen to complete the task again? Elder Wang had already told all the disciples of Tianyun Hall about what Nai Chen said last time, that he and the empress went to investigate the feat of the battle between two pythons in the water. But even if he thought that the empress should have no other ideas, but just took Nai Chen to experience, Elder Wang always felt a little strange. Even if the empress regarded Nai Chen as a key immortal seedling to be cultivated and took more care of him. But with the empress's cold and arrogant character, she never took anyone seriously. Recently, is the relationship between the empress and Nai Chen a little too close? Ding, the dog abuser is finally abused. Issuing a temporary system task. Dating with the empress, giving out sweets, jealous couples going to the Taoist couple conference, and understanding the mysterious enlightenment. System reward, choose a proposal place in the 10,000 worlds. Ride the dragon in the air, and the system suddenly issues a task. Shock, the love letter was sent to the empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 143. Miss Menjiun is out of seclusion again. Holy land of flowers, this sentence instantly attracted everyone's attention. Many female disciples gathered beside the cave, waiting quietly for Yao Menjiun's figure. The light shone down, and when the frail figure walked out, all the disciples felt distressed. As the younger sister of a saint, the former Yao Menjiun did not put others in her eyes because she regarded herself as arrogant. But 2 consecutive setbacks in her Taoist heart made her become more and more haggard. Miss Menjiun, congratulations on your release. The disciples of Saint Lady Blossoms bowed slightly respectfully. Even though Yao Menjiun still looked a little weak at this moment, they still felt extremely admired. A broken Taoist heart is extremely serious for any practitioner, and may even cause irreversible effects. It is extremely difficult for ordinary people to repair a damaged Taoist heart. However, despite being severely damaged twice in succession, Yao Menjiun still recovered his state of mind after facing the wall for several months and came out of seclusion again. Such superhuman perseverance and strength are truly admirable. Don't worry, Miss Menjiun, the 2 frustrations of your Taoist heart are just inevitable obstacles on the road of cultivation. As long as you overcome this difficulty, you will surely rise from the ashes and reach higher heights. That's right, the Dao heart can still be restored after being damaged twice. Who else in the world can be there besides Miss Menjiun? Miss Menjiun will definitely be able to wash away her shame, slay her inner demons, and rebuild her past glory. There were compliments one after another, but Yao Menjiun just nodded calmly and said casually. I know, today, you are determined. I'm going to see my sister next, so you should leave first. Yes, I also hope that the lady will take care of herself. All the disciples nodded respectfully. From Yao Menjiun's calm tone, they could clearly feel that Yao Menjiun's Taoist heart was as calm as still water at this moment. Not only is he fully recovered, he seems to be one step closer. Although they were worried, they knew it very well. Miss Menjiun seems to have truly been reborn this time, completely getting rid of her inner demons. The disciples slowly dispersed, and Yao Menjiun walked alone to the palace of the Blossom Saint. Nai Chen? But sooner or later, my men will be defeated. Yao Menjiun murmured as if to cheer himself up. These words made her confidence continue to increase, and a surge of pride seemed to surge in her chest. He was beaten violently at an auction, and he saw Nai Chen riding a dragon just after leaving the border. Having his Taoist heart damaged twice, his heart was completely filled with inner demons that were afraid of Nai Chen. But now, I am completely different. Yao Menjiun became more determined with every step he took. He once again made up for his Taoist heart, and his cultivation level also increased greatly. The inner demons brought by Nai Chen are no longer something to be afraid of. With his terrifying advancement speed, I am afraid that he will catch up with Nai Chen and surpass him effortlessly before long. When the time comes, I can easily defeat him and completely cut off the demons from the past. This moment will not last long. Thinking of this, Yao Menjiun inadvertently brought a slightly proud smile to his lips and walked slowly to the bedroom. She has always been proud of her sister, the Flower Saint. Even though the relationship between the sisters is excellent, she never shows any blasphemy or contempt when facing her sister. Because at any time, the Flower Saint is a sacred and inviolable goddess in her heart. This kind of admiration cannot even be broken by the relationship between sisters. Facing her sister, she only has admiration in her heart. As Yao Menjiun expected, the Flower Saint, who had already entered the realm of the great emperor, was admired by the world and no one dared to offend her. Whenever he sees his sister, Yao Menjiun can't help but feel an inexplicable excitement in his heart. Today, she finally repaired her Taoist heart and came out of seclusion. The first thing she wanted to do was to meet her sister first. But as soon as she reached the palace, Yao Menjiu suddenly discovered that the Holy Maiden of Flowers was falling from the sky in the distance, and she had just returned to the palace. Did sister leave the Holy Land? Yao Menjiun was confused and looked at the Blossom Saint more seriously. But she soon discovered that the Saint of Flowers, who was always holy and extraordinary, was holding her hips and walking slightly staggering. Sister, what's going on? Yao Menjiun was shocked, and quickly and quietly followed her to the door of the palace, watching quietly as the Blossom Saint walked into the palace. At this moment, the Flower Saint, who had just entered the palace, could not help but whisper softly. Hey, it hurts. Chu Qingyu was the emperor after all, so even a few slaps that seemed like gentle punishment were still very painful. Feeling the bursts of pain coming from her buttocks, the Flower Saint maiden complained with some resentment. Really, it's all Nai Chen's fault. If it weren't for him. Ah, it hurts. Groaning softly in pain, the Holy Maiden of Flowers murmured with tears in her eyes. Really, I don't know the importance of starting. It's not the first time, it's still so rough. This time alone was enough to hurt me for several days. I couldn't be more gentle next time. After saying that, she staggered to the window, her delicate and graceful body lay on the bed in pain, and rubbed her butt that was slightly red and swollen from being spanked by Chu Qingyu. Yao Menjiun, who witnessed the scene and heard what Saint Flower said, was stunned. In her mind, it was as if a thunderbolt suddenly sounded. What did her sister say just now? It's all Nai-chan's fault. It's because of him that I'm like this. What did she do? My sister, who had already reached the level of the great emperor, was so painful that she covered her buttocks and even staggered when she walked. Could it be? Yao Menjian's mind banged and became completely confused. She didn't want to believe it, and she didn't dare to believe it at all. However, what Saint Flower said and her state could no longer be explained by a second reason. All this. Not only that, Saint Flower also whispered in person. She said that it was not the first time that she and Nai-chen did not know the severity of the situation and were too rough. She also hoped that he would be gentler next time. This. How else can this be explained? Yao Menjian tried her best to convince herself not to imagine in that direction. But the reality was so clear in front of her that she had no way to refute it. Her sister, the dignified saint of flowers, the great emperor, actually did that kind of thing with Nai-chen. Tears flowed down. The tears became more and more, and the tears became bigger and bigger. Before she knew it, Yao Menjian's face was already covered with tears. She recalled the terrifying figure at the auction again. Not only herself, but now, even her sister Saint of Flowers had been killed by that beast. And, her sister seemed to be enjoying it now. Even Saint of Flowers had completely fallen. Nai-chen, that beast, that demon. She had no chance of defeating him at all. Crack. Tears rolled down, and Yao Menjian's Dao heart, which she had repaired with great difficulty, was shattered again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 144. Master, are you sure you want to do this? On the hillside covered with cherry blossoms, stood a woman who looked like she was in her early 30s. However, even though she is a MILF, her charm is still there. The tightly wrapped skirt seemed to be a ripe fruit, and the slim and plump figure was charming, but revealed a somewhat unusual charm. She is none other than Yu Xiren, the head of Mount Ime. The conference has been convened. Do you still want me to break my promise? Yu Xiren looked down the hillside and answered coldly. But this has always been inconsistent with our purpose in Mount Ime. The sect deacon behind her looked a little excited and confused. Normally, the leader Yu Xiren has always been the target of their admiration. But the deacon was completely unable to understand today's actions. Master, you have always followed Empress Qingyu as your example. Even though the Empress has not mentioned the theory of the uselessness of Taoist companions for 100 years, you have always regarded it as a sacred book. He did not hesitate to issue strict orders to his disciples and risked being opposed by many sects in the world to establish an anti-Taoist alliance. Apart from the leader, there is no other woman in the world with such courage. But why would the leader suddenly choose to give up? Or even hold this vulgar Taoist couple giving candy conference? For what? Hearing this, Yu Xiren was silent for a moment. Sighing, he finally said. If I said it was for the Empress, would you believe it? Empress? But what does this have to do with the Empress? The deacon said subconsciously. But suddenly, she raised her head suddenly, with a hint of excitement in her eyes. Wait a minute, is that what you mean, Master? I do this just to stimulate the Empress. There was a hint of perseverance in Yu Xiren's eyes, as if she had made up her mind regardless of everything. Even if the anti-Tao couple alliance is established, without the Empress, it will be nothing more than an illusion with a skeleton. What I really want is to spread the Empress's thoughts throughout the world, and one day even spread them beyond the Lanchuan continent. The Empress is the core and origin of everything. Only with the Empress can all this truly make sense. So you want to stimulate the Empress by holding this conference, so that the Empress can recall how boring and disgusting the Taoist couple is. The deacon felt excited and couldn't help but answer. That's right. When the conference is fully convened, I will go to the Empress and ask her to see how ugly and boring what these couples are doing is. Uziron nodded slightly. Looking at the men and women gathering at the foot of the mountain, her eyes were filled with perseverance. It turns out that the leader actually has such deep intentions. After hearing these words, the confusion in the deacon's heart melted away, and he became even more excited. The Empress indeed seems to have long forgotten what she once considered the most useless thing about Taoists. But for the Empress who wrote on the uselessness of Taoist companions, she must have only forgotten it briefly. If the leader can really invite the Empress to witness all this, maybe the situation will change drastically. With the leadership of the Empress, everything has the most important soul. This moment may not be far away. All the women in the world who have been bewitched by Taoists are waiting for Empress Qingyu to come and rescue them. Cherry blossoms fall down the slope. This is known as the most beautiful scenery in Mount Ime. Unlike ordinary cherry trees, the cherry blossoms here bloom all year round. The cherry blossoms all over the sky are dancing in the wind, and then turn into spiritual energy and blend into the soil, forming new cherry blossoms. The beautiful scenery here is famous all over the world, but it is extremely difficult for outsiders to enter. But today, Yinglapo is not only open to the public. Mount Ime, which has always been extremely resistant to Taoist monks, is holding a Taoist lovers candy distribution conference here. Such a grand occasion is extremely rare, and many Taoist monks rush to get here first. After all, the appearance of most cultivators is not too low, especially those who usually have no place to show off their Taoist companions, and they seem to have seized the great opportunity. On weekdays, if you abuse a dog in the sect, you will easily get beaten by a group of people, but here, you can be unscrupulous. There are not many opportunities to witness the sweet Taoist couples of various sects. Many people are unwilling to let go of such an excellent opportunity. The young master of Nandaoling and his Taoist companion are here. That's the princess of the Zhuan dynasty and her consort. Damn it, even the head of Yunhe Mountain came with his Taoist companions. I remember these two. They are the famous gangster thieves and the immortal couple. Unexpectedly, they are also here. Sitting under the cherry blossom trees in Sakura Peak, a group of lovers couldn't help but look astonished. They originally wanted to come here to spread dog food, but they didn't expect that Mount Ime's reputation would be so big. Many of the Taoist couples who came here were famous couples of gods and immortals. Many of them are even of extraordinary status, beings that are rarely seen in daily life. I heard that there would be singing and dancing performances in Mount Ime, so these Taoist monks sat on the Yingluo slope and waited quietly. However, the waiting process is a bit. Looking at the pair of Taoist couples in front of me, making love to each other, they completely blended into the environment. Some people who came alone suddenly felt like crying. They thought that they had a firm mind and would not be affected by such a scene. Who knew that after seeing this scene, I couldn't resist it at all. How could this be a candy-giving party? It's clearly a dog-torturing party. And it's the kind that looks gorgeous on the outside, but actually tricks the dogs in and kills them. Zhang Lang. Little sister. What? In just a short period of time, some people were overwhelmed by the sweetness of the scene, while others were overwhelmed by the sourness. At the same time, more Taoists rushed to the falling cherry slope. The scene of this grand event has far exceeded everyone's imagination. At this time, in the distant mountains and forests, a whirlwind swept through, and cherry blossoms flew everywhere. On the majestic dragon body, Chu Qingyu and Nai Chen walked down. Wife, are you sure you want to go directly? Seeing that Chu Qingyu was actually walking straight towards the falling cherry slope, Nai Chen asked in confusion. After all, this place is different from Kanghan City. In mortal towns, Even if there are many people, no one recognizes Empress Qingyu. At most, they have only seen a vague statue of the Empress in other places. But this conference held by Mount Imei was attended by all the monks and Taoist couples. If Chu Qingyu showed up here, it would probably cause an uproar in an instant. Especially those monks who already knew that the Empress was extremely against Taoist couples, they would be frightened and run away. However, Chu Qingyu did not answer Nai Chen's question. She grabbed his hand and walked out of the forest without hesitation, heading to the falling cherry blossom slope where many Taoist couples were sitting. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 145. Falling Cherry Blossom Slope. Cherry blossoms are scattered all over the sky, and when a breeze blows, petals are blown up by the wind, and the fragrance is refreshing. The dazzling sunlight shines down, but is blocked by the cherry trees, and only a few spots of light can be seen. The light pink petals seem to cover the sky, making people intoxicated. Every few steps, there is a pair of Taoist lovers sitting on the ground. Under the protection of the surrounding environment, they are shamelessly affectionate and do shameful things without any scruples. It's simply a large-scale dog abuse conference, which is insulting. When Nai Chen came here very close to Chu Qingyu, he was surprised to find that the people around him had no reaction to his and her appearance. Some people even heard the footsteps, just looked up, and quickly shifted their eyes without caring. "Wife, are you using any magic to hide your body?" Nai Chen asked curiously. Chu Qingyu shook her head, "Not entirely, this is a spell of interference. Other people can still see us, but they won't focus on my appearance and identity. Even if they see us, they will be disturbed and won't care at all. There is such a convenient spell." Nai Chen nodded and couldn't help but sigh. But soon, he thought of a very important question. "Wife, I remember you didn't know this spell before. I just told you about attending the conference today. Could it be that you have already started learning this spell and are ready to go out on a date with me?" After saying this, Chu Qingyu's expression suddenly stagnated, and he paused for a long time, obviously revealing a trace of panic that the secret was discovered. How is it possible? This emperor just happened to see the spell in the library and was very interested. "So, that's why I learned it?" "That's right, that's it." Although he answered with confidence, Chu Qingyu's evasive eyes could not be concealed at all. "Wife, are you sure?" "Sure." Chu Qingyu answered very loudly. Nai Chen coughed twice and stopped asking. But he was absolutely sure of one thing. The dignified Empress Qingyu was an out-and-out tsundere. Chu Qingyu had already seen all the spells in the library, and there was no such convenient treasure in it. This spell must have been found by her from somewhere else, and she may have even spent a lot of effort on it. There happened to be a large open space next to a very straight cherry tree. Nai Chen pointed there and said, "Wife, shall we sit here?" "Well, here." Noting that the scenery and view here were pretty good, Chu Qingyu nodded. But when she inadvertently saw the surrounding scene, she couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed and shy. Couples showed their love here without caring, not only ignoring the eyes of others. What's more, they even kissed directly. If such a scene happened in the past, she would definitely put all these people in solitary confinement without mercy. But she never thought that she would become a part of it one day. Sitting under the cherry tree, Chu Qingyu's graceful figure instantly attracted the attention of countless people. Although there are quite a few women with excellent looks here, the cold and arrogant beauty is completely different from them. However, after just watching for a moment, under the interference of the strange spell, everyone turned their eyes away in confusion, ignoring the beauty that they felt at that moment and even felt a little surprised. Although the song and dance performance of Mount Imei has not yet begun, many couples can't hold back. Especially Zhang Xinggui, the young leader of the Nanling sword sect next to Nai Chen. This person is 8 feet tall and has clear eyebrows and beautiful eyes. He is even more physically strong and sturdy as he practices the swordsmanship of the Nanling sword sect, and looks a bit extraordinary. Zhang Lang, you actually made a lunchbox for me. Zhang Xinggui's Taoist partner looked at the exquisite food in the wooden box, lowered his head, and looked extremely shy. Wow, it smells so good. This meal is really made by you. Zhang Lang, you are so good to me. Holding Zhang Xinggui's scarred broad palm, the woman deliberately raised her voice in surprise, appearing extremely excited. Tender and tender, cooking for the Taoist couple personally. The two of them were affectionate and dependent on each other, and the scene of looking at the food in the wooden box suddenly exuded a strong smell of love. Sour, so sour. This scene made even several Taoist couples around feel as if their teeth were sour. Although they are not single dogs. But Zhang Xinggui and his Taoist couple are a handsome man and a beautiful woman, and they made such an intimate and sweet move, which is really unbearable to watch. A young master who is proficient in knife skills, but with scarred hands, made a lunchbox for his Taoist couple tenderly. This is like a sweet story, like a fairy tale, and anyone who hears it will feel sour. Facing the shyness of the woman, Zhang Xinggui smiled slightly, gently lifted a strand of hair from her temples, put it on his nose, and took a deep breath. It smells so good. With a domineering CEO-style smile on his lips, he stared at the woman's eyes and suddenly hugged her waist. If it's for you, don't say there are scars on my hands. Even if this hand is broken, I must make the most beautiful meal in the world for you. Let the world know that you are my woman, and only my woman. After saying that, he suddenly used more force and hugged the woman's waist tightly in his arms. Zhang Lang, it smells so good. The woman lowered her head shyly, her face redder than the flesh of a ripe watermelon. Zhang Xinggui asked with a smile, what do you mean by smell? The woman nodded, the food smells good, but Zhang Lang, your thoughts smell even better. Instantly, the whole audience was in an uproar. Is this the immortal couple? Wow, this is too spoiled, I'm so jealous, I'm so jealous. Look at them, can't you learn from the young master? I thought having a Taoist partner was enough, but I didn't expect that even having a Taoist partner could be abused like this. For a while, there was amazement, envy, and blame for their own Taoist partners. Near the cherry tree, the eyes of pairs of Taoist partners were all attracted, looking at the sweet scene in front of them and envy them speechlessly. Ugh! Nai Chen retched and almost vomited the food he had just eaten last month. Although these people have partners, haven't they ever seen them fall in love? This kind of exaggerated acting and love words of the overbearing CEO style would be the worst movie on Blue Star. He got goosebumps all over his body. Ding, the young leader of the Nanling sword sect is detected to be shamelessly abusing dogs, and the overbearing CEO style lines are extremely childish. Now issuing a system task, the host is a reverse abuser, and the couple is jealous to death. Host reward, unique charm temperament, maintained for 1 hour. Shock, the love letter was sent to the empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 146. If that's the case, then you can't blame me. Nai Chen stood up, full of fighting spirit. I have always been the one to abuse others, when have I ever been abused like this? Since he dared to insult his eyes with this domineering CEO-style second-hand method, let him know what it means to show off love and spread dog food. Nai Chen stood up and walked in front of Zhang Xinggui and his Taoist partner. Cooking, knife. As he stretched out his hand and grasped it in the air, the rare fruits in the space ring suddenly flew out. A stove was sandwiched on the lawn, and Nai Chen held the blade. The space ring already contained precious animals and spiritual herbs and fruits that he had collected. In addition, his cooking skills had reached the state of great perfection. Even if the stove was simple and the ingredients were simple, it became completely different in Nai Chen's hands. Click, click, click. After a few cuts, the ingredients went into the pot. Instantly, the fragrance filled the air, and the fragrant aroma attracted everyone around. The fragrance accompanied the tempting aroma of the food, even the monks with firm hearts could not help but be attracted. In a short while, several delicacies were cooked in an instant. Nai-Chen placed them in 2 square boxes, and even drew 2 heart-shaped symbols on them with the juice of the red lotus real jade fruit. Bento, and it was a love bento. This is a superb craftsmanship, coupled with the incomparable fragrance, but the eyes attracted by Zhang Xinggui and his Taoist partner showing affection. All gathered on the bento in Nai-Chen's hand. Hiss, it smells so good, it smells so good. It's an excellent delicacy at first glance, and the cooking skills are top-notch chefs. My husband, when can you make such a delicacy for me? The monks who witnessed the scene were all shocked by Nai-Chen's cooking skills. They have all tasted the delicacies of the immortals, and have tasted the delicacies of the human world. But such a delicacy is completely beyond their imagination. What's more, this was made on the spot, a heart-shaped bento. But just when everyone's attention was attracted, Nai-Chen suddenly, in front of everyone, gently wrapped his arms around Chu Qingyu's waist and held her in front of him. What are you doing? Chu Qingyu was slightly stunned, not understanding Nai-Chen's actions at all. More importantly, because the sensation just now was too big, now there are dozens of couples focusing their attention on her. Being held in Nai-Chen's arms in public, even if others could not detect her identity, Chu Qingyu felt her cheeks burning. Cherry blossoms fell all over the sky, and Chu Qingyu, who was gently held by Nai-Chen, had her soft long hair fluttering in the wind. A few light pink cherry blossoms fell on her white and thin dress, softly outlining her perfect and graceful curves. This beautiful scene made the eyes of the couples around suddenly stagnate. Although they didn't know why, they could only feel that the couple was too well matched, but they couldn't remember their identities at all. But even compared with the young and handsome third young master of the sword sect, they suddenly felt that this dog food was more satisfying than what they had just eaten. It's so strange, why can't I remember the identities of these two people? I seem to have a feeling, but I can't think of it. More importantly, this is too well matched. When everyone was talking about it, they thought that the two people's show of affection would end here. Nai-Chen smiled slightly, and suddenly handed the lunchbox and chopsticks to Chu Qingyu, and smiled. Wife, feed me. What? Chu Qingyu was stunned for a moment, and the hand holding the chopsticks was shaking slightly. This was in front of hundreds of Taoist partners. How could I do such a shameful thing? Nai-Chen smiled and said, if it doesn't work, I can feed you back later. That's not the reason. Chu Qingyu's cheeks were completely stained with a beautiful light pink, like cherry blossom petals falling all over the sky. However, although she showed resistance, she couldn't help but take the lunchbox. She stared at the lunchbox in her hand for a long time. It seemed that she had made a great determination. Finally, Chu Qingyu finally stared at Nai-Chen with a grudge and whispered. This kind of thing, I only do it once in a while, and I will never do it again. Okay, Queen, no problem. I have long understood my wife's words and deeds. Nai-Chen smiled immediately. Chu Qingyu picked up the food in the lunchbox lightly, her eyes dodged, and she hesitated for a long time before slowly picking it up and bringing it to Nai-Chen's mouth. Open your mouth. Ah! Nai-Chen ate it in one gulp, even holding half of the chopsticks in his mouth. It's delicious. It's not my cooking, do you think praising it for being delicious is praising me? Of course, it's because my wife picked it up for me, so it's delicious. After my wife's hands, everything seems to become fragrant. Chu Qingyu really couldn't figure out how Nai-Chen had the nerve to say such embarrassing words. The key is that in the face of these words, she actually seemed to have no room for resistance. Unconsciously, she felt that her heartbeat seemed to be many times faster. Come on, wife, it's your turn. Just then, Nai Chen took the chopsticks from Chu Qingyu, picked up the most fragrant and soft piece of meat, and handed it to her mouth. Wait, you want to feed me? But those chopsticks? Recalling the scene of Nai Chen holding half a chopstick in his mouth, Chu Qingyu suddenly felt shy. However, the piece of meat had already reached her fragrant and soft lips, and exuded a burst of fragrance. I won't eat it. It smells so good. Chu Qingyu accidentally took a bite, and the aftertaste of the fragrance immediately reminded her of Nai Chen's superb cooking skills. Come on, wife, give me another piece. There are so many people, I don't want it. It's delicious. Wife, it's your turn to feed me. Okay. Don't go too far. Although Chu Qingyu kept refusing, she finally blushed, and the two fed each other lunch boxes back and forth. The blushing cheeks were like the gurgling water under the sunset, clear and moving. More importantly, this scene of feeding each other lunch boxes with a pair of chopsticks is full of dog food. This is no longer just a simple sweet, it is pure dog abuse. Not to mention the singles, even those who have partners present are abused and speechless. They have eaten dog food, but they have never eaten such excessive dog food. Is this something that a human can do? It is simply inhuman. Even Zhang Xinggui and the others were also stunned in place, speechless, and completely dumbfounded by this high concentration of sugar. Too much, this is simply too much. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the task and reversely abuse the dog. Reward, unique charm temperament, maintained for 1 hour. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 147. The Suangu holy body originally exuded a unique Taoist aura, and when combined with the unique charm of the body, Nai Chen's aura suddenly changed in an instant. He was full of energy and looked like a god. Damn it, it feels like my eyes were blinded. So handsome and elegant. Amidst a burst of exclamations, the monks who originally wanted to bring their Taoist monks here to show off were all shaken. I suddenly feel like a failure. I'm not as handsome as anyone, and I can't show off my affection to others. Am I not worthy of living in this world? No wonder other Taoist monks are so beautiful, but my wife is so ugly. It turns out that I have no comparison at all. Ah, yellow-faced woman, don't do anything. I just said that she is beautiful inside, not that you are ugly. You dare to call me ugly? You have really changed your mind. I will fight with you. Suddenly, many of the friends who came here to show off their affection actually started fighting among themselves, and they were completely shameless to spread the word. After all, compared with other people's high-end dogfooding methods, I'm just like a joke. Ding, I successfully broke up a Taoist couple and got a lollipop that Queen Qingyu loves. Ding, I successfully broke up a Taoist couple and got a sexy piece of obscene clothing from Empress Qingyu as a gift. Ding, the relationship between the Yunhe mountain sect leader and his wife, the top Taoist couple, has been successfully dismantled. Ding, I successfully dismantled 17 Taoist monks and obtained 10 colorful nirvana flowers. Obtain the effect of scattering flowers in the sky. *1. Nai Chen. Paths never imagined. Can you actually get rewards for breaking up Taoist companions? Nai Chen suddenly felt that not only was his system a bit cynical, but he even had a deep hatred for the dog food. However, these rewards are really quite generous. Especially the obscene dress with black gauze. Nai Chen felt a little, hissing just by looking at it. If I give this to my wife, ahem. I have to admit that my system is actually braver than me in some aspects. At this moment, on the hillside, Several graceful girls suddenly walked up. Welcome to all of you to attend the Taoist Covenant Conference held in Mount Ime. For this conference, Emission will try its best to create the best environment for everyone, and I hope you can enjoy it. In an instant, the eyes of many guests were attracted. Sure enough, as the rumors said, most of the female disciples in Mount Ime have excellent looks. Especially these girls, they look particularly attractive in this beautiful environment. The most important thing is that because Mount Ime has always opposed Taoist couples, most of the disciples in the sect are single and flawless women. Who can not admire such a sect? For a moment, everyone's eyes were involuntarily focused on the hillside. Many male monks even looked a little straight-eyed, having already ignored that their Taoist companions were beside them. What are you looking at? Sure enough, you men are just playboys. It's a shame that I still accompany you to attend this bullshit conference. You're simply blind. You still dare to look. Suddenly, the lovers on Yingluo slope started a noisy argument. Love is never specific, and love is never lasting. Humph, is this the so-called Taoist couple? Sure enough, the relationship between men and women is nothing more than this. Looking at the scene down the hillside from a distance, Yu Ziyang snorted coldly. Sect Master Mingjian, what do you want next? The Emission deacon asked respectfully from the side. I will leave for Tianyun Palace immediately and invite the Empress here. I think that as long as she sees such an ugly side, the Empress will definitely change her mind and lead us and other women in the world to jointly resist the most useless Taoist companion. Yu Ziyang turned around, her eyes filled with expectation inadvertently. The sect master is wise. If this happens, the Empress will definitely be touched. The deacon was very excited and marveled at Yu Ziyang's wise decision. But, after hesitating for a moment, the deacon said, in Sakura Slope, I seem to see a slightly unique couple. Although I don't know their identities, I don't know why, but I feel that they are both talented and good-looking. It gives people a completely different feeling from other Taoist monks. Yet, Yu Ziyang glanced at her, but quickly said in a deep voice. What you see is just the surface. Remember, don't be fooled by these, stick to your true intentions and practice well. I see. The deacon bowed slightly and said with reverence. The disciples will wait here for the master. I know that I will definitely bring the Empress back. Don't worry, I know the Empress very well. I will never fail in what I do today. After saying that, Yu Ziyang turned around, stepped on the ground without hesitation, and jumped up. It was as if she was destined to win the strip. At this moment in Luyingpo, Mount Ime has fulfilled its promise and officially held the conference. On the hillside covered with petals, the female disciples who had already prepared themselves came out in long skirts. Some people played the harp, while others played the flute. Several female disciples danced to the songs, their dresses dancing with the wind, like bright flowers, so alluring and dazzling. Even Chu Qingyu couldn't help but be attracted, and nodded with great interest. I have never known that the flute can play such beautiful music. When I have time, I can go back and practice the flute. Nai Chen said awkwardly, honey, playing the flute is not as easy as it seems on the surface. Are you sure you can learn it easily? Being looked down upon like this for the first time, Chu Qingyu immediately looked a little angry. Although I have never played the flute, I am still quite proficient in music theory. Even if I have never learned it before, I am confident that I can learn it in one night. Honey, are you sure this one night is serious? And this Xiao, it? Ahem, forget it. Nai Chen coughed twice and quickly took back what he almost blurted out. My wife is still very innocent, and I can't always drive in front of her. Well, that's it. Noticing Nai Chen's strange look, Chu Qingyu suddenly noticed something was wrong and showed a hint of suspicion. Strange, why do you feel like you are hiding something from me? No, no, of course nothing. Nai Chen immediately shook his head. No, there must be something going on. Chu Qingyu narrowed her eyes slightly and looked Nai Chen up and down. Soon, a proud smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. I understand, you just don't believe that I can't learn to play the flute overnight. In that case, let's make a bet. Bet. That's right, if I can't learn to play the flute in one night, then I'll let you do it. If I can't, then just let me do it. Speaking of this, Chu Qingyu showed a playful and slightly proud smile on her lips. From this smile, Nai Chen could feel Chu Qingyu's confidence, and also believed that he had such a talent. However, there was one important question that Nai Chen was holding back in his heart and unable to express. Honey, which Xiao are you referring to? Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 148. I have never been so bold as today to date the Empress, and even kissed and hugged without any scruples. However, Nai Chen also noticed another problem at the same time. Although he had severely abused Zhang Xinggui and his Taoist partner, the task crazy dog abuse issued by the system had not been completed. This shows that the degree of dog abuse is not enough, and he must work harder. Amid the singing and dancing, a female disciple walked in front of the crowd with a smile on her face. The purpose of this conference is to deepen the intimacy and bond between the Taoist partners. Now, we will release some activities. Any couple who can win over everyone and stand out can get rewards from Mount Ime. The atmosphere was already very good, and now they heard that there were rewards to be obtained. Amid the singing and dancing, everyone cheered. At the same time, the female disciple slowly spoke. The first activity is to say the most touching love words to your Taoist partner. Ahem. Hearing this, the monks below were slightly silent. After all, everyone is a cultivator. Even if they have a Taoist partner, it is still a bit embarrassing to say such words in public. However, soon someone couldn't hold back, staring at his Taoist partner, and said something a little lame. I am a rough man, I don't know what to say. But there is one thing I can be sure of, I love you, I will always love you. Da Lang, you are so nice. Someone took the lead, and many cultivators became active. Many of them actually have a higher level. Baby, you are the braised pork, soft but not greasy, fragrant but not evil, I will always love you. Wife, the stars in the sky are not 1/10,000th of you. You are the most beautiful star, you are the most wonderful existence in my heart forever. Wife. For a while, all kinds of sweet words were evenly matched, and it was impossible to tell who was better. There were still a few couples who had not spoken. Many people focused their attention on Zhang Xinggui, the young leader of the Wandao sect, who had just stolen the limelight. Many people noticed that Zhang Xinggui deliberately glanced at Nai Chen with a bit of disdain in his eyes. This action seemed to be a complete provocation. Zhang Xinggui had no grudges with Nai Chen, and he had no intention of getting in touch with this unknown person. However, the scene that Nai Chen caused an uproar just now was just stepping on his head. Not only did he steal all the limelight from him, but he also humiliated him extremely. Zhang Xinggui couldn't swallow this breath, and he didn't intend to admit defeat at all. Isn't it just showing affection? In terms of family, status, and appearance, why can that unnoticeable Taoist couple compare with themselves? They must return the face they lost just now double. Staring at his Taoist partner, Zhang Xinggui smiled slightly and deliberately stroked her face with his hand covered with handsome scars. As their foreheads pressed together, Zhang Xinggui could clearly feel that the eyes of the people around them were all gathered. There were far more of these eyes than before, and they seemed to be more expectant. It's time. Zhang Xinggui raised his head somewhat proudly, lowered his voice, making his voice more magnetic, and finally said what he had racked his brains for as if he had thought for a long time. Tao, you are like cotton candy, soft, sweet, and I am afraid that it will melt if I hold it in my mouth, and I am afraid that I will lose it if I hold it in my hand. You are like a bird flying in the sky, with a pair of wings that no one can restrict, and a beauty that everyone envies. But thank you for staying by my side in the end, loving only me. That's really true. There was silence all around. After a moment, a loud sound that shook the earth rang out at the same time. Well, that's very well said. Is this the literary talent of the young master? It can be seen that he has written many love letters to other women. Ah, he loves his Taoist partner very deeply. There was a boiling uproar. Zhang Xinggui's words stood out, and he was highly valued. At this moment, the entire falling cherry slope seemed to be centered around him, with applause and cheers. Zhang Xinggui turned his head and glanced at Nai Chen, with a smug smile on his lips, and his eyes were filled with the complacency of a winner. But he was suddenly surprised to find that Nai Chen not only did not take his contempt seriously. Instead, what is he going to do? Suddenly someone noticed that Nai Chen clenched his hands towards the sky, and then, a burst of extremely fragrant breath spread around. Completely different from the cherry blossoms here, this fragrant smell was a little cold. The refreshing fragrance was so intoxicating that even these cultivators couldn't help but indulge in it. Looking at Nai Chen, who was holding Chu Qingyu lightly in front of him, many cultivators were in an uproar, and they had no idea what he would do next. At this moment, a white light shone in the sky. Then, petals fell all over the sky. However, this petal is completely different from ordinary flowers. The colorful colors are constantly flowing, and the flowers are shining with colorful lights. Sacred, cold, and noble. This is the colorful nirvana flower. How is it possible? Why would the colorful nirvana flower appear here? Someone suddenly shouted, and in just a moment, Sakura Pond erupted in an incredible uproar. Some people didn't dare to believe it at first, but the colorful petals and the cold and holy aura flowing on them made them realize it clearly. The flowers floating down from the sky are the 7-colored nirvana flowers, which are known as the most precious, rarest, and most beautiful in the world. The 7-colored nirvana flowers with such reputation are also extremely rare. Each 7-colored nirvana flower grows in an extremely dangerous and extremely cold place, or is guarded by an ancient beast with terrifying strength. It is so precious that even the emperors can hardly find it easily. What kind of existence can have such a terrible hand? Under the reflection of the 7-colored nirvana flowers, the whole sky is completely colorful. The light is swaying down, just covering Nai Chen and Chu Qingyu. The colorful light is flowing, and the flowers are floating down from the sky. This scene seems not to be a scene in the human world. Holding Chu Qingyu's soft waist gently, Nai Chen smiled sweetly and said only 3 words. I love you. Just 3 words. These are the simplest, yet the most precious 3 words. Against the colorful nirvana flowers, these 3 words seem to be the most wonderful. At this moment, the whole place was silent. The petals fluttered in the wind, and the fragrance was refreshing. But no one spoke on the entire Sakura Pond. After an unknown amount of time, the female disciple on the hillside seemed to have recovered from the shock. She pointed blankly in the direction of Nai Chen. This couple wins. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 149. It was just the simplest words, but it seemed to have exerted the greatest charm. I love you. These 3 words are the simplest, unadorned, and sincere words that many women want to hear. And the 7-colored nirvana flower, which is known as the most beautiful and precious in the world, is used as a backdrop. This scene actually made everyone stunned. No one objected, and no one said a word. Nai Chen's victory was completely worthy of the name. These 3 simplest words are the most sincere love words in the world. Even Chu Qingyu became a little different at this moment. She stared straight, stayed in place, and stared at Nai Chen blankly. The autumn water eyes surged like a gurgling stream, mixed with a trace of intoxicating emotions. She clearly felt that her heart was beating very fast, and even her breathing was a little blurred and hot. I love you. These 3 words, each word seemed to catch Chu Qingyu's new heartstrings. Ha ha, honey, we won. At this moment, Nai Chen laughed and seemed a little proud. You were really teasing me just now. The perfect atmosphere was suddenly broken, and Chu Qingyu immediately grabbed the flesh on Nai Chen's waist with some anger. Nai Chen hurriedly explained, no, although it was for victory, the 3 words I just said to you, my wife, were absolutely from the heart. Chu Qingyu's cheeks were slightly red, as if she was still angry. I don't believe it. Honey, believe me. How do you prove it? My heart is all yours, my wife. Every cell in my body seems to keep saying I love you. Do I need to prove it? You. Chu Qingyu's eyes moved, and a few petals of the colorful nirvana flower fell on her black and smooth hair, which made her pretty face more beautiful. Finally, she pouted her lips slightly, snorted and turned her head. Okay, then I will reluctantly believe you once, but you must promise me one thing to make up for the mistake. You can promise anything, my wife, you have the final say. Nai Chen smiled immediately. Then, I'll say it. But when the words came to her lips, Chu Qingyu seemed a little hesitant. She pursed her lips and was silent for a long time. It seemed that she had made a great determination. She finally lowered her voice and whispered as soft as a mosquito. The 3 words just now, when you go back, you should say them to me several times seriously. Nai Chen was stunned. Which 3 words? Of course, it's, I love you. Stupid, you still have to repeat it to me. Said such embarrassing words in person, Chu Qingyu was so ashamed and angry that she punched Nai Chen's chest with her little fist. Puff. A stream of blood flowed from the corner of Nai Chen's mouth. Although his wife didn't use any force at all, the little fist of the great emperor was not a joke. However, the wife's fist hit his body, but it warmed his heart. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth without caring, Nai Chen smiled very brightly. Don't worry, wife, even if you don't say it, I want to go back and repeat it a few more times. Besides, saying it 1,000 times is not enough. You. Hey, strange wife, your face is red again, even your ears are a little red. I didn't. Wife, you can't lie to me. Damn, you, I'll beat you up. Wife, your fist is small and soft, so comfortable. Compared to Nai Chen's victory just now, this scene is obviously more lethal. Even though most of the cultivators present have Taoist companions, looking at the scene of excessive sugar in front of them, they are so sour that their teeth are about to fall out. Even the female disciple who presided over the meeting was stunned for a long time before she remembered to continue. Congratulations to this couple for winning this round. Then, let's start the next activity now. Everyone can compete by giving the gifts that can surprise their couple the most /. Leave this victory to me. Just as the female disciple finished speaking, Zhang Xinggui suddenly sneered and walked in front of everyone. Many of the many cultivators present noticed his arms with bulging veins. Obviously, Zhang Xinggui seemed to be completely angry. The limelight was taken away twice in succession, and it was forcibly suppressed. This feeling is just like riding on his head to go to the toilet. Not only slapped his face, but also slapped the face of Nanling Daozong. As the young master of a first-class sect, Zhang Xinggui would never swallow this breath. This was originally intended to be given to you when I proposed to you. In this case, please accept it now. Zhang Xinggui suddenly knelt on one knee, his hand covering the space ring. Before the marriage proposal was taken out, a faint spiritual energy flowed out from the space ring. What will Zhang Xinggui's marriage proposal be? For a moment, many cultivators could not help but feel a little bit of anticipation. Nanling Sword Sect is ranked as a first-class sect, and it has a deep foundation. As the young master of a sect, Zhang Xinggui can almost be said to become the leader sooner or later. Facing the wife of the leader, such a marriage proposal is enough to represent the face of Nanling Sword Sect. This gift must be quite grand. A burst of brilliance flashed. Not only the many Taoist couples present, but also the disciples of Mount Imei were completely attracted. May these two things be the witnesses of our wedding. Under the attention of the crowd, Zhang Xinggui had two things in his hands. One is the foundation of the Nanling Sword Sect, the ground-level sword technique, Nan Shengwan Daoju. The other one shocked everyone even more. The breath of the great emperor. Suddenly someone shouted in disbelief. The round bead in Zhang Xinggui's hand, shining with infinite light, was the rumored breath of the great emperor. The great emperor is an infinite realm that thousands of cultivators can never reach. People admire the great emperor and fear the great emperor. The great emperor can flatten mountains and block rivers in a snap of a finger. He can also speak the truth of the Tao in one word. Anything related to the great emperor is a supreme treasure that is hard to find for any cultivator. And this breath of the great emperor comes from the spiritual energy transformed by the great emperor's breathing. For ordinary cultivators, the breath of the great emperor may temper the body and drive away evil poisons, which has a terrifying effect. Not only the southern Saint 10,000 Swords art, for the sake of the young master's marriage, the Nanling Sword Sect may even have invited a great emperor. Only then could the great emperor's breath be created. Such a precious gift has far exceeded everyone's imagination. I'm afraid that the gift Zhang Xinggui brought out is enough to look down on everyone. Other cultivators simply have no chance of matching it. Daiyu, do you think my gift is precious? Feeling the pleasure of being proud, Zhang Xinggui smiled complacently and looked at Nai Chen sarcastically. He was able to bring out such a precious treasure as the air breathed by the great emperor. With his own strength, what could he bring out to compare with himself? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 150. The Breath of the Great Emperor. Nai Chen looked at Zhang Xinggui as if he were an idiot. However, Zhang Xinggui not only did not restrain himself, but became even more proud. The road of cultivation is so long. If you want to keep your Taoist companion by your side, you can't just say some useless empty words. People who dare to show off their love here without sufficient strength, it really makes me laugh to death, ha ha ha. Ah, a fool must pop out of such a good meeting. Nai Chen sighed helplessly, took out a small wooden box from the space ring, and handed it to Chu Qingyu. Wife, come and blow into it. Why blow into it? Chu Qingyu took the wooden box with some doubts, hesitated for a moment, and still opened her mouth and blew into it. After sealing the wooden box, Nai Chen took it to Zhang Xinggui and said, "Coincidentally, I also have the breath of the great emperor here." "You are lying to fools." Zhang Xinggui was almost furious. The breath of the emperor is the spiritual energy exhaled by the emperor, and its value is extremely precious. How dare a random woman pretend to be the breath? If the emperor really appeared here, he would be so angry that he would slap her to death here. Even if you are at your wit's end, you won't use such a clumsy trick with me. I want to see if you still have the face to stand here after opening this box. Zhang Xinggui sneered, took the wooden box from Nai Chen, and opened it casually without taking it seriously. But suddenly, the extremely fragrant scent of thousands of flowers permeated the entire cherry blossom slope. This scent is fragrant but not evil, with a trace of coldness, as if it can penetrate into people's bones. More importantly, along with this fragrance, there is an extremely mysterious breath spreading. Under the infection of this breath, everyone suddenly felt clear in their hearts, as if even their understanding had risen to a higher level. Not only that, even though the breath was cool and fragrant, it carried a strong sense of oppression that no one could ignore. The power of the Emperor. This pressure is the real power of the Emperor. So the things in this box are real. Everyone was shocked and stunned. The breath of the Emperor was so precious that even Zhang Xingui dared to hide it and was reluctant to release it at all. Who did this breath of the Emperor come from? Zhang Xingui was even more unbelievable, and his eyes staring at Nai Chen were even filled with fear. You just asked your Taoist partner to blow a breath into it? Could it be that your Taoist partner is the Emperor? Zhang Xingui's mind suddenly boomed. Who did he offend? Could it be that it was really a great emperor? Even if they were not powerful emperors, they could take out the breath of the Emperor so casually. These two people must have a very close relationship with a great emperor. I'm sorry, my friend. Please listen to my explanation. I really didn't mean to target you. I just... Sweat began to seep out of Zhang Xingui's forehead, and his expression was even more panicked and frightened. At this moment, he just wanted to explain himself and beg for Nai Chen's forgiveness. But Nai Chen didn't even bother to look at him. I think the activities held in Mount Imei are really good. In this case, I will also take this level. Wife, this is a little gift from me to you. Smiling and looking at Chu Qingyu, Nai Chen shook his hand towards the sky. Suddenly, in the void, there were white feathers falling down. Those white feathers were pure white and danced lightly with the wind. But the many cultivators who came here could clearly feel that in these white feathers, there was a terrifying and shocking power. Boom! Without any warning, a huge shadow suddenly emerged from the void. Golden holy eyes, covered with white feathers. The important thing is that there is a sense of oppression comparable to that of the great emperor on this huge virtual image. Dharma image. And it is a Dharma image comparable to that of the great emperor. This terrifying pressure instantly shocked everyone. The majesty exuded by the white feather Dharma image made them want to bow down and surrender. How could a powerful great emperor appear here? And this pressure, is that person? Countless eyes were focused on Nai Chen at the same time. At this moment, no one did not feel a tremor in their hearts. They suddenly recalled that this crazy couple who were showing off their love had attracted everyone's attention just now, but when they recalled their appearance, they felt a blank in their minds, and they could not think of their identities at all. Is it really that the great emperor came here in person? But at this moment, a scene that was even more beyond everyone's expectations appeared. The majestic white feather Dharma image suddenly burst out a violent aftermath, and then, in the eyes of the cultivators, it exploded. The great emperor's Dharma image exploded. Endless white feathers fluttered down, surging and fluttering in the terrifying aftermath. Those white feathers with terrifying power did not seem to fall randomly, but were swept and condensed in this strong airflow, and finally turned into three simple words: I love you. All the cultivators were silent. Zhang Xingui looked at the sky with embarrassment. The leader of Yunhe Mountain, the prince consort of Wangqiao. Even the masters of these sects were embarrassed and stunned. So, this Dharma image with the power of the great emperor was summoned out just to explode it and sprinkle white feathers all over the sky as a gift for the Taoist partner? What a terrifying move! And who is that great emperor? The great emperors in Lanchuan continent are extremely rare, even if they include the ancient strongmen who may have been in seclusion for 1,000 years. The identity of any great emperor has long been known to the cultivators of the world. Who is this great emperor? He actually came here without any scruples and made such a terrifying move. In Mount Imei, every guest present was shocked, and countless eyes were all focused on Nai Chen and Chu Qingyu, who were shrouded in the center of the white feathers. Just now they were thinking about how to show their affection. But the scene in front of them was enough to crush the Tao hearts of all of them. Compared with this kind of big move of showing affection, what they did was simply a child's play. Dog abuse, Really pure dog abuse, it's too much. I don't know how many people lamented, and how many people's hearts collapsed. You fail to abuse the dog and end up being abused, this probably refers to this. Even the female disciples of Mount Ime stared at the scene with their eyes wide open. The headmaster had repeatedly told them that the matter of Taoist partners was the worst thing. They deeply admired Empress Qingyu and always believed in her philosophy. But the scene they saw today caused a violent shake in their hearts. There was even a moment when they began to doubt whether the Empress could keep her original heart if she saw this scene. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 151. Ding, those who abuse dogs will eventually be abused. Congratulations to the host for completing the task. A date with the Empress gave way to sweets, and the lovers who went to the Taoist couples conference to death from soreness experienced mysterious enlightenment. System reward, choose a proposal venue from all over the world. A place for marriage proposals in all realms. The next moment, Nai Chen's consciousness appeared in another space. Looking up, there were thousands of planets appearing in front of him in the vast starry sky. Moreover, the scenery of each planet is completely different. There are planets where the entire planet looks like a starry sky, there are planets where there is a vast ocean, and there are planets where there are countless peach blossoms. The scenes of these planets are extremely beautiful and completely presented to Nai Chen. So, these are places where you can propose. Is the system so considerate? Nai Chen never expected that the system could even select wedding venues. Just, isn't it a little early to mention this now? Ding, this is the place for marriage proposal in all the worlds. The host can choose any planet as the scene for marriage proposal. Which one does the host plan to choose? Planets passed in front of Nai Chen one after another. I choose. The system was obviously hesitant, but it still made a sound after a moment. Ding, congratulations on the successful host selection. Proposal venue selection in all worlds completed. The vast universe slowly receded, and what was in front of Nai Chen's eyes was Chu Qingyu's beautiful face, which was as beautiful as a flower. A few petals of pale pink cherry blossoms fell from her long silky hair, and the white feathers seemed to have become her holy wings. At this moment, Chu Qingyu's heart was beating at a speed that was obviously uncontrollable. Until now, the magnificent scene of white feathers forming the words "I love you" in the sky still appeared in her mind. It's really a bit shameful. But the surrounding eyes came one after another. Because everyone was so shocked, even the interference spells that could avoid attracting attention began to fail. Chu Qingyu's pretty face was slightly red, and she suddenly grabbed Nai Chen and turned into a stream of light, rising into the air. The three big words "I love you" finally slowly dissipated, and the figures of Nai Chen and Chu Qingyu also disappeared into the distant mountains and forests. However, the pain in the hearts of the Taoist couple is completely indelible, and it is even more sour than a few lemons. If you don't abuse the dog, you will be abused. Who can bear this ultra-high concentration of sugar? Let's break up. Zhang Xinggui's Taoist companion suddenly pushed him away with a cold expression. Zhang Xinggui was completely stunned. Although he had been pushed out of the limelight one after another and made a huge embarrassment, he was originally doing well and even gave an engagement gift. How could it be possible? I suddenly feel that the love between us is completely insincere, so let's forget it. However, his Taoist companion left indifferently and never turned around again. Let's break up. I think we'd better forget it. I suddenly feel that the relationship between us is ridiculously bland, so let's leave it at that. What was originally a candy distributing conference for Taoist couples suddenly turned into a breakup conference. Don't go, I really am wholehearted. The pleas kept coming. No one would have thought that they originally wanted to come here to spread dog food, but in the end, they actually lost their Taoist companions. Why would a powerful emperor hide his identity to participate in such a conference? What a sin! At this moment, Looking at the scene of Luo Yingpo in the distant mountain forest, Chu Qingyu couldn't help but laugh out loud. A little helplessly, he tapped Nai Chen's shoulder and said, "If you insist on coming to this strange conference, look at how many marriages you have broken up by your actions just now. They deserve it. Besides, as long as your wife is happy, that's fine." Nai Chen moved a little to the left, getting closer to Chu Qingyu. If it were in the past, Chu Qingyu would usually slap Nai Chen away without hesitation if he was so close. But at this moment, Chu Qingyu turned her head, and her hair on the temples was a little messy. Just like her somewhat messy heart. Ding, the Empress' heartbeat has been detected to be accelerated and difficult to control. The success made the powerful Emperor feel disturbed. Congratulations to the host for understanding the mysterious enlightenment, the way of the little love letter. The way of little love letters? What the hell is this? Nai Chen was stunned for a moment, but soon, lines of text appeared in his mind. These words are all romantic, even the shameful love words of a domineering president. Moreover, the system also provided an explanation. The way of little love letters, comprehend thousands of little love letters, and you can become stronger by reading out the love letters. Note, every love letter has great power, the host can use it with confidence. Are you sure these words, which are so shameful that you can dig out an earth with your toes, can be used on the Empress? Wait, it seems to actually work. Nai Chen suddenly recalled that the Empress seemed to, just like this. If that's the case, there's no need to hesitate. Reading a love letter to your wife can make you stronger. Where can you find such a good thing? Nai Chen immediately approached Chu Qingyu's ear and whispered. Honey, actually I have something to tell you. What are you talking about? You, just say it. The warm wind blew against her sensitive ears, but Chu Qingyu didn't refuse. Okay, then I'll start. Nai Chen took a deep breath and started the little love letter directly. I can miss the morning sun, I can miss the sunset, but you can't, because you are the only choice in my life. I can do without food during the day, without sleep at night, and without clothes in winter, but there is only one thing I can't do, I can't stop loving you. Why are you saying this all of a sudden? Chu Qingyu was so shy that she couldn't listen anymore. She covered her ears and tried her best to stay away from Nai Chen. However, Nai Chen didn't mean to stop at all. Don't say these mushy words, believe it or not, I will slap you away. Hee, my wife, your hands are so soft, because I will only make me more excited. Okay, stop talking. No, I have to say. Who said that a day without seeing you is like a long time? I feel that as long as I can't see you for a minute, it feels like 1,000 years. So mushy. I can't stand it. Chu Qingyu tried her best to resist, but Nai Chen's ears kept echoing. Congratulations to the host for successfully disturbing the Empress's mind with a little love letter, skill points add 3, and a significant improvement in cultivation. Congratulations to the host for successfully disturbing the Empress's mind with a little love letter, skill points add 3, and a significant improvement in cultivation. Congratulations to the host for successfully disturbing the Empress's mind with a little love letter, skill points add 3, and a significant improvement in cultivation. Suddenly, the aura in Nai Chen's body burst out sharply. The threshold of the realm was easily crossed and broken. The momentum soared into the sky and surged. Nai Chen's cultivation was actually directly improved to the peak of the Xianyuan realm.